Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is Ham Talk Live, episode number 24, DXing and Log Analysis with Valerie Hotzfeld, NV9L. Recorded live on Thursday, July 28th, 2016. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. This evening, Ham Nation co-host and avid DXer and contester Valerie Hotzfeld, NV9L, is here to talk about working those rare DXpeditions and how to analyze your logs to do better next time around. We will take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week on the show, Nathan Nixon, N7NAN, was here to talk about promoting ham radio as an MCOM option for the American Indian tribes throughout the country. If you missed the show, you can listen anytime. All you have to do is go to hamtalklive.com, or you can get it as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud. We're on iNet Radio, and we're also on YouTube. So get all your questions ready to go after the interview. You can call us on Skype. That username is HamTalkLive, or you can call by telephone, of course. That number is 812-NET-HAM1, 812-NET-HAM1, 638-4261. You can also tweet your questions. Our Twitter handle is @HamTalkLive. So next, Val, NV9L, right after this word from Tower Electronics, right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the ham's dime store since 1978, bringing connectors, antennas, cables, and other parts to the world. Scott and Jill travel the country bringing their store to you at HamFest, but you can also order online at pl-259.com or by calling 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and end connectors, audio cables, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated end connectors are even in use on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics is a dealer for MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro Technologies. Tower Electronics online at pl-259.com, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
If Denny's is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, why are there locks on the doors? Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Hey, thanks to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight so we can bring you Ham Talk Live. They will be at the Berryville, Virginia Ham Fest on August 7th. And they're coming soon to Huntington, West Virginia and Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Call them at 920-435-2973 or visit their website at pl-259.com. Be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And if you miss the show, you can download the podcast from the website and most popular podcasting websites. Valerie Hotzfeld, NV9L, is originally from Wisconsin and now resides in Illinois. Val is a co-host for the wildly successful video podcast Ham Nation on Twit TV, where she usually contributes information about DXing and contesting. And Val is a numbers kind of gal, so at Contest University this year in Dayton, she gave a talk and a question and answer session about log analysis. Valerie is one of the most noted YLs in the hobby and spends most of her weekends on the air working contests along with her fiancé Jerry WB9Z. She is a member of many DX and contesting clubs and an ARRL volunteer examiner. She has also been the North American pilot station for Amsterdam Island FT5ZM in 2014, Wake Island K9W in 2013, and Swains Island NH8S in 2012. Besides her ham radio obsession, she enjoys camping, traveling, hiking, fishing, bowling, gardening, and baking. That sounds like an awful lot, Val. Thanks for coming on Ham Talk Live tonight.
Yeah, I forgot to add basket weaving and no.
Oh, it's not underwater basket weaving for teens, right?
I have a lot of hobbies, and yeah, you know what? I was just listening to you earlier, and I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that Nathan, the podcast where you interviewed Nathan, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I'm an enrolled tribal member of the Ponca tribe of Nebraska, so I am Native American. So that sounded like a cool interview that you had last week.
Yeah, Nathan's done a lot of cool things with that, and we've done some things with him over at Amateur Radio Newsline, and so yeah, that's a good one, and kind of interesting to hear how he's getting some of that MCOM stuff going with some of the tribes. So, hey, tonight we want to talk some DX, and we want to get into the contest analysis first. But one of the things that I always ask the people who, put together these big DXpeditions when they come on the show or whatever is what their advice is if you're on the other end. And so I want to get your advice on, if you want to get that DXpedition in the log, what are your top suggestions on making sure he or she is successful in doing that?
Well, my strategy was when I just had 100 watts in a simple station and I was living on my own in Wisconsin, I would get through. Well, of course, I have the 2 dB gain being a YL, but I would get through if I'd find a empty hole in the middle somewhere. But when I was talking to Jerry, who's been on many DXpeditions, most of them in the top 10 as rarity goes, he says always go to the top of the pile, or the top of the pile. So like if they're listening on 240 through 250, you want to hang up near 250 or just a tad above.
Oh, okay.
To get through. Good. And you know what? Day one is crazy. That's for the big guns. You're just going to drive yourself crazy. Although you'd hate to not try on day one and then all of a sudden have bad weather come along and then they pack up and go home. So it's kind of a catch-22. But I usually don't try on day one when I just had my 100 watts. I wait a couple days.
Yeah, that does definitely help. And one of the things that we found at the school is that YL factor. Like you said, you got 2 dB just for that. But yeah, if your voice is a little bit different, it helps. And some of my kids, they like to go just a little off frequency.
Yeah, I do that.
So they sound just a little bit different. And of course, we've got a couple of YLs, so we try to get them on the station too. But
yeah, I don't zero beat a lot. I do that unintentionally as well. So even though I have a high voice, it does make a difference. And I was on the other end when I went to PJ6, and boy, I could hear the YLs come right through the top.
Yeah, it's easy. When I was like, 6 and 7, they would always think I was a YL. And so I kind of got the YL effect because my voice hadn't changed yet, and so I could get through a lot easier than I do now. So let's just pretend here for a minute and say all of a sudden tomorrow they announce North Korea is on, what are you going to do?
Everything I can. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely need that one. I want that one. He could be online tomorrow. That's a possibility because it hasn't been announced when, and who knows, we didn't know when that Dom was going to be on when he was on before. He was visiting there, working out the plans to come back and go on the air, and who knew he was going to be testing like that. So I know it's coming soon to a radio near you.
Yeah, so get ready. Any other suggestions on breaking through those pile-ups or getting a DXpedition into log, a favorite band or mode you like or anything like that?
Well, 20 meters, that's 20 and 40s are there, 20 meters for sure. They're big money bands. So they're going to usually have someone on that 24/7. So you'll eventually get through. And a lot of times at the very end of their DXpeditions, they'll ask for people who haven't worked them at all on any band. So they're looking for unique onlys. You can usually get through on the first try on those. Sometimes they're begging for callers on that last day, especially if it's a big team. And propagation's been good, although. So, yeah.
Yeah, although right now propagation isn't that good.
Nope, you're right there.
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to get worse. So, okay, well, very good. Let's switch gears here and talk a little bit about the log analysis. That was one of the big things that the kids that went to Contest University were looking for, and I was looking forward to hearing, was your contest analysis, because we started playing around with that a little bit and started taking a look at the logs and what kind of data we could start pulling from that. And so we learned a lot from that talk. So why don't you talk a little bit to the listeners about, when a contest is over and you've got that log, what kind of statistics are really useful for them to go back and try to improve on their score the next time around?
Well, first off, I'd start during the contest because I think a really useful tool and makes it a heck of a lot more fun is logging into the cqcontest.net live server during your contest. So you're going to actually see a real horse race in real time, how you're doing with others in your category. And that's so easy to do. If you use N1MM, which a lot of U.S. contesters use, and you just go into your configuration, there's actually a tab when you go into configuration called score reporting. And you just have to first go to cqcontest.net, register, which is free. You'll need your call sign and come up with a password. And then when you go into N1MM on that score reporting tab under the configuration menu, just put in your login, which is your call sign and your password, and you're automatically linked. You're in a live leaderboard as a contest is going. And I think it's set up automatically to report your score every 3 minutes in the background. You don't even know what's going on. And you can really glean a lot of data from that because someone else in your category, you can see what bands, how many QSOs everybody has on each band. And you can see when they're moving to 40 or they're moving to 15 or, so you can watch and get a lot of information while the contest is going live and make your corrections then and there. So I really recommend that. And it just makes it a lot more fun, really makes it a lot more fun. But yeah, after the contest, I think the best thing to do is you're going to get those emails or you're going to have to request them. Some of you have to request them once the scores are published. It's called the UBN, Uniques, Busted, and Not in the Log Report. And I kind of go through that and see how many mistakes were made, if certain because we do a lot of multi-operator contests, so I look at who made the mistakes, what times the mistakes were made. You give it a little bit of a pass on 160, things like, where it's hard to work some of those signals. But also when the contest is over, I take my logs and I upload them to QScope. I love qscope.org. You can put 100 of your log in 100 contacts, or you can put your whole log in, but it'll only look at the first 100 contacts. And you can get a little bit of analysis from those first 100 you worked. But if you want to put in your full logs from your contest, you need to subscribe, and it costs $5. So it's well worth it. But they'll put in your whole log, give you full analysis. And really, I look at the times when errors were made to see if, maybe we want to add an operator because we were a little short and everybody was tired at 4 a.m. or, there's different things you can look at like that.
So you're looking at it mostly for fatigue and making mistakes.
Fatigue, or did we not? Another good one too. I look at to see is logqso.com, logqso.com. That one's free, and that uses public logs. So like CQ Worldwide is a public log. You can compare your contest for the same year with another call sign, maybe that you lost that beat you out. And you can look at what they did on each hour. And so you can help analyze, hey, did I not change over to 15 meters soon enough? Or did I miss this opening or that opening? So you can kind of analyze a lot on what you've done wrong in your strategy as well.
Okay, very good. And then if you were just looking at one individual, if you're looking at your own or one of your team members, what kinds of numbers do you look at? Do you just look like contacts per minute, and then how do you boost that?
I look at rate per minute, make sure everybody was giving good rate. If not, then we know where we can correct and help them to get their rate up. Also, I look at all the errors made when you get your UBN report. It'll list all the bad calls, busted call signs, bad exchanges, the not in the logs, and I match up to who the operator was at the time, and then I divide it out by their contacts. So each person gets their own individual error rate, and when you get those UBNs, it's going to give you the average error rate. And you always want to make sure that you're at least under the average rate. You want a lower score than that, but so keep that average rate. Like CQ Worldwide last year, I think it was 3.2%. So if you can get it under 3.2%, you're doing better than the average contester out there. We like to try and keep ours under 1.5. That's our goal. And so we look at there's all kinds of different factors. So not moving, not like you said, being fatigued. Propagation was really bad. It was really hard to pull out some weak signals. We might have been better on another band, even with a lower rate. Because some of these contests, you don't just lose that contact, you'll lose that contact plus 2 more. So if it's really hard to pull a signal out on that band, why are we fighting so hard on that band when we're going to have a high error rate? We could have moved to another band where propagation might have been better, but the rate would have been slower and still been ahead. So
I just thought of a question too. This is one that we struggle with at school. What's your opinion on how long do you keep trying? When do you give up and move on? When is it, you've spent so much time trying to get this one that you've already lost 2 or 3?
Yeah, it depends if you've got a pileup going. If you've been calling CQ till you're blue and you hear someone faint, I'll try and work them. But if you have a pileup going, obviously you're going to work the loud ones off the top. But I'll work them. I'll try for 3 times. This is what I usually do. If I can't pull them out after 3 times, then I'll say, hey, sorry, I can't pull you out, old man. Come back in maybe a half hour. It'll be better. And then, unfortunately, sometimes right after that, you call CQ tip for 10 minutes. And
then there's still one there.
Yeah, you never know.
Exactly. Murphy's Law at work.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the Q-scope and some of these. What are some of the other software packages and online tools that you can use to generate these stats? Any others that or noteworthy?
There's probably more out there. These are the only 2 that I really use. Qscope.org is my favorite. They even have a mapping tool. So you can put all your QSOs in there and it'll map it up on Google Earth, and you see the Earth spinning while the little dots light up on who you worked. It's kind of cool. There's lots of cool tools, but it gives the rate for each operator on each hour. And logqso.com does that as well. It shows each contesting hour, and if you can compare with two other contests, so it could be you in the last 3 years, or it could be you with two others in the same year, whatever you want to compare. And it's a nice line chart, and you can see the where you were under their line and where you can improve and hopefully beat them out next year, if that's your goal.
Yeah. All right. All great stuff. So check those out, and we will put those links on our Facebook page and on our Twitter feed after the show, so you can have a link straight to those if you missed those. And we'll be back with some more with Val, and have your questions ready. We'll start taking some questions here after this word from the Ham Station right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by the Ham Station. For 35 years, the Ham Station has brought new and used radios, antennas, accessories, and equipment to the amateur radio community. Give Jeff or Dan a call at 1-800-729-4373 or order online at hamstation.com. Ham Station carries all the major brands like ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood. Shop from a wide selection of radio scanners, MFJ accessories, Heil Sound products, Mirage and Ameritron amplifiers, Cushcraft antennas, and more. Easy online shopping and fast shipping are waiting for you at hamstation.com, or call 1-800-729-4373. The Ham Station, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Oh, yeah. You're talking ham radio, baby. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live, or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. The Ham Station has you covered for both new and used equipment. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com. And be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on hamtalklive.com. Also, check out our Facebook page and Twitter feed. Just search for Ham Talk Live. Okay, well, it's time for your calls. If you have a question for Val, now is the time to give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Again, that's NET-HAM1. You can also Skype us at Ham Talk Live. You can also tweet your question at Ham Talk Live. Now, the first question that came in a little earlier this evening is from Dr. Scott Wright, K0MD, and he wants to know your opinion on which one has the best receiver, a Flex 6700 or your ICOM 7851.
Well, hi, Scott. Thanks for the question. We have the Flex 6700, but we just have not had it hooked up and are using it just yet. It's ready to go. Software's downloaded. So unfortunately, I cannot compare the two. But I got to tell you, I love the 7851. On the low bands, we were able to hear better on the 7851 versus the K3S. So comparing those two, the 7851 rocked. So I hope that answers your question, Scott. Hopefully I'll be able to make a comparison down the road. And Jerry says hi, Scott.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll look forward to that. Glenn Johnson was on a couple of weeks ago, and he put everything SDR, and he was just like, oh, it takes all the noise out. It's the best thing ever. So
I can't wait.
I'll be interested to see what you think about that as well. All right, 812-NET-HAM1 is the phone number, 812-NET-HAM1, or you can Skype us at Ham Talk Live or tweet at Ham Talk Live. So we'll check that and see if we have anything here. And we'll just keep talking while people are getting ready to call. So if you're calling in, please go right ahead. I will answer your call here while we're talking. So I mentioned North Korea a while ago. So aside from that, what DXCC entity would you like the most?
Well, I need 21 more to have them all, but I would have to say probably Syria. You know, YK, if I get Syria, then that means ISIS is gone, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want North Korea, though.
Yeah.
I want all of them.
Do.
I'll take all 21 of them.
Yeah.
I'll take any of them.
Well, Troy is on the website, actually. W9KVR, just down the road from you. Also one of our sister schools, the Glen Raymond School, W9GRS. He says, you mentioned about when to call it quits when running. How about when searching for the molts?
Oh, when to stop? When if it's a huge pile up, you know, I'll come back sometimes, but I'll try maybe 3 minutes because I really don't want to mess with my search and pounce rate, and I'll keep it. I'll put it on my VFOB, and then I'll go back and search and pounce on A, and I'll just keep switching back to that to see if, you know, and try one call if I don't get through, you know, and I'll just keep coming back to it every now and then. But yeah, usually if it's something like it's a rare molt that I need, I'll stick with it for about 3 to 5 minutes tops before I move on.
Okay, fair enough. What is your favorite contest, and why is it your favorite contest?
You know what? They're all fun and unique in a way, but I like the NAQPs. Everybody's on more even footing. You know, a lot of these contests where you get more points for work in Europe or, you know, outside of the continent, it's really hard from here in the black hole to get through that East Coast Wall of Sound or the West Coast Wall of Sound over to, you know, to Asia. So, and then a North America contest is kind of nice in that respect where it's pretty evenly matched. Yeah, so those are good. And I always love WPX contests because my call is, you know, NV is a unique prefix.
Yeah, so. Yeah, not many of those. Yeah, one of the things that I remember, you're talking about the Wall of Sound. One of the things I remember at Contest University, I think it was last year, was we were looking at, you know, the top 10 ways to improve your score, and the number one answer was move somewhere else.
Yeah. Nova Scotia would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
but,
you know,
but with ARRLDX or, you know, yeah, any of those, I mean, I like them, the domestic contests, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Troy says thanks and looking forward to working you and Jerry this upcoming school year. And
Glen Raymond School is so close to us.
Yeah. He's just,
I have to come in and visit them next time they're going to be on the air for a contest. Maybe we'll come by.
Yeah, Troy's been down to visit here at our school before, and we usually kind of pair up a little bit and help each other out. So that'd be great. 812-NET-HAM1, 812-NET-HAM1, or you can tweet us at HamTalkLive, or you can Skype HamTalkLive if you have a question for Val on the log analysis or DXing, the DXpeditions, whatever you want to ask. Why, give us a call. If you had to pick one contact that was your favorite, or one that, you know, you were just so glad that it was finally over, what would that be?
Well, you always fall in love with your first. So my first contact to the Netherlands, my first HF contact, that was kind of cool. But my absolute favorite of all time was when I was in CQ Worldwide Sideband. It was like my third contest ever. I just started contesting a few weekends earlier, and I stumbled onto WB9Z's frequency because he was doing 10 meters only high power. I was 10 meters only low power, and got to talk to him. And we flirted for a little bit, and now we're engaged, and
So that
that's
worked
my
out
favorite.
well.
Yes,
worked out
it
well.
did.
Yeah,
And he was so good, and I like took 15 minutes out of not. I was only searching and pouncing because I was too terrified to run. So I took 15 minutes away from my contests, and I just sat there and listened to him, and I was just so amazed.
You know, one of the things that happened at school one time, which I won't mention any names because I'll probably embarrass the kid to death, but he emailed me and said, "Hey, I saw your picture of your club in QST, and I saw you had a lot of girls in the club." And so he started asking about one of the girls, and it's like, "Yeah, I heard her on the air. She sounded really good. I just sat there and listened for a while." Yeah, that happens. So while we're on the subject of YLs, what are your thoughts about supporting YLs more in the hobby? What are some things that we can do to help that out and raise that percentage up?
Well, when I lived in Milwaukee area, and I was, before I got on HF, and I was real active in my local repeater club, and I was pushing to put a YL net on. Because we always had a fun net, we had a computer net, we had a swap net, so we had, it was a very active repeater. And so I wanted to put on a YL net and where they could talk about anything except ham radio. They were not allowed to talk about ham radio. Because I think a lot of women in that area had their licenses, but they were afraid to get on the air and talk. And I know my fear when I first got my ticket, I was afraid to get on the air and talk because I was so afraid someone was going to ask me a technical question and I would give a bad answer to or not know the answer to it. So I was kind of afraid in that respect because I wasn't real confident in my technical skills as far as amateur radio. And so I think if things like that to get them, one night they could talk about shopping or favorite recipes or, just different things that women like to talk about. And I think that would draw them in on the air more and feel more comfortable being on the air. I know we have the YLRL. I'm a member of that, which helps promote women in the hobby. So there's different ways. Girl Scouts. I know I talked to Girl Scout troops on the air when I was Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey Portable 9 up in Wisconsin. A woman who was a ham came on the air and asked me if she could she's a troop leader and she was going to have her girls there in like an hour, and could she bring them on the air and talk with me? And absolutely. So I talked to all the girls in the troop, and that was pretty cool. We all do our part, hopefully, to try and get more YLs in it. But I think a lot of YLs are intimidated by the technical aspect because it's just, they're not confident in that area. If they're like me anyway.
Yeah. Now, one of the things my mom did when she got on the air was she would get on there and talk with another YL, and they would get on the repeater and talk about recipes. And a lot of the guys in the club complained about it because they're like, you're wasting repeater time. Nowadays, it's like, the repeater sits there, 23 hours a day.
Exactly.
No one's on there.
Yeah.
Well, back then, before cell phones and everything, the repeater could be a little bit busy. But we're like, you're tying up the repeater to talk about recipes, And
that's so they could get on the air and talk about gout or trains.
Right, right,
exactly.
yeah.
It's got to be fair for everybody.
It's gardens, ailments, and the weather. Those are the three things to talk about on ham radio. And so they went off to Simplex. So they started, which they were about 30 miles apart. So it wasn't easy to do Simplex always, but they both had beams, so they would get on Simplex. But the funny thing was, you wouldn't believe how many people followed them over to the Simplex frequency to listen to their conversations.
It's amazing how many people are in the shadows on 2 meters. I was in the shadows for a long time because I was afraid to talk or bust into a rag chew. So I sat in the shadows a lot because I was scared. A lot of people are shy that way. and they just wanted to have something in the background to listen to while they're doing whatever they're doing too. So, but yeah, that is pretty cool that they follow the women.
Yeah, they just followed them over there, so they were still on. It was just, they were still being listened to. It was just not on the repeater anymore. Now, one of the things you mentioned in your talk over at Contest University was one of the first contests you worked, and you won your class.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
And that was operator skill, I'll tell you that, all the way. It was my very first contest. I did California QSO party. I figured I'd start small. And what I did, and you know what, actually, you could take away from this something to do if you're just starting off in contesting. I looked at the category, and looked at my station and so I only had 400 watts because I needed new tubes on my amp and I couldn't afford them at the time. And so I thought, I'll just do low power, YL only, out of state. So I won, but I was the only entry in that category. So,
but you ended first.
I got it, or last, how you look at it.
No.
No.
We'll keep it first.
Girl, so yeah, exactly.
You got first place in the world in that contest.
And then the next weekend, I was so hooked. The next weekend, I think, was a Scandinavian Activity Contest, SAC. And I just got up in the morning. I had my robe on, still fired up the radio. And I hear these guys doing a contest. So I pull up my little N1MM and I just worked a couple guys and I just kept going. Like 3 hours later, okay, I think I'll get dressed now, take a shower and have some coffee. And I never turned my login. Well, they kept emailing me, turn your login. So I turned my login and I got first place USA. So always turn your login. You never know.
I keep trying to convince our local club for the field day strategy is to work like 19 alpha. Just pick some random number and just, transmit for 1 minute on all those different bands and modes so that we can be like 19 alpha and then we're the only club in the category and we win.
There you go. Well,
we tried that in college and it didn't work.
It's not just, 19 separate stations. That's a lot of antennas and radios to hook up.
Yeah, well, we used a lot of handhelds.
Filters and...
We used a lot of handhelds. We did
that's
a lot
true.
of VHF, UHF, and different modes. We got CW digital and voice on 2 meters and then on 440 and it was just a matter of, okay, everybody grab a radio and let's see how many we can get. And it backfired. Somebody else did the same thing. So
you got second
end
place?
Up winning, but yeah, we got second place. So, it works. So yeah, turn in your log. You never know what may happen there.
And that's a good thing too. If your station's limited or whatever, and you want a little confidence builder, go through you can go through the prior year's results and see where there's or world records if you're looking to win a record for your 9-land or 8-land or wherever, and look and see where the weakness is and go, you know what, I think I can beat that, and then plan that contest, and do that category. Because you'll see some scores are crazy high, and then all of a sudden there's one real low score, and they're like, oh, look at that. I think I might be able to pass that up, and pick your category based on that. So I do that sometimes. I did a QRP contest while Jerry had to be on a deserted island because he hates QRP. So I waited till he was on a deserted island, and I did QRP contests. And it was fun. I got second place. But that was fun.
Yeah, that's great. We've got just a couple of minutes here left, and go ahead and tweet your questions if you're out there. I know a lot of people are off watching the speeches tonight, but if you can tweet us a question or call 812-NET-HAM1 is the number. But since we've got a couple of minutes here, let's talk about the Ham Nation show. So. You've been doing the DX part of that mostly, and so we enjoy hearing what's coming up in DX soon. So what are some of those things that you're seeing coming up soon, and some of your thoughts on Ham Nation?
Well, nothing much coming up right now because it's summer, so propagation isn't good. Most de-expeditions happen in the fall or the winter, so I really haven't been watching that. Although, there's a lot of 6-meter action going on right now. So, but as far as, and what was the second question?
Ham Nation.
Oh, Ham Nation. Oh, well, I used to watch, and I was always in the chat room, and they noticed, I think it was right around the time I was piloting maybe Amsterdam Island. I was piloting Amsterdam Island, and I was a lead pilot, so all the other pilot stations in Europe and Australia and stuff filtered all their stuff through me. And so people were asking me about some questions on Amsterdam Island, and I was getting ready to head off to Saba Island, which PJ6 down in the Caribbean, for a contest. So people were asking me about that as well. And so I think Bob Heil and them saw me in there talking about the DX from FT5ZM and the contest I was going to be doing from PJ6. So they realized there was a kind of a hole in the programming, and so they asked me to come on board and be their DXing and contesting person, which I jumped at the chance because when I got in ham radio, I had a lot of Elmers and 2 meters, but no one I knew did HF. So I really learned everything the hard way. So I thought it would be cool to get on there and teach people how to do some of this stuff that I really had to learn the hard way. So they didn't have to go through what I went through. And there is one DXpedition coming up. I just want to mention real quick, the St. Paul Island DXpedition. That's coming up August 19th through the 29th. I think it's Charlie Yankee 9 Charlie. I think Charlie Yankee 9 Charlie. So that's pretty much the only thing coming up that I know of.
Unless we get North Korea.
Right, which could be any day. You never know.
Who knows?
Yeah. I want to put APRS on Dom.
Yeah.
Just
there we go.
Hide something in his sneaker or his luggage.
Yeah, we did some. We always do a transmitter hunt at the end of the school year with our high school club, and so some of them knew that I had APRS. So I found out they were getting on. So I always remember to turn off my beacon because they would sneak up on that. So just stick APRS on Dom.
Fox hunts are fun, and that's a good way to get kids in the hobby too. Fox hunts.
Oh yeah,
they love
that. They get
it's
to
like
drive.
Pokemon Go kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Valerie, thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. We're glad you're feeling better because you had to reschedule last time.
Sorry about that.
Glad you're feeling better. That's fine, and you're welcome back anytime. And if you have some good DX news, why come on back, and we'd be glad to have you on.
Appreciate it, Neil. Thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for listening.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. I'd like to thank my guest, Valerie, NV9L, and all the callers and listeners out there in cyberspace, and invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, next week, we're going to do something a little different. A lot of people have been asking me about how to get young people into amateur radio. Sometimes it's those discussions after the show or before the show and out and about. So I'm going to do the show next week solo. So you've been warned. You get 45 minutes of just me. But we're going to talk about starting up ham radio clubs in schools and how to get young people into ham radio. So that's coming up next week. It's going to be Young People Night next Thursday night, 9 p.m. right here at HamTalkLive.com. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure also to go to HamTalkLive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.